Facebook.
Oh, yeah, very
On
nice.
YouTube, I have to go and change it, but so we'll wait just a couple seconds here. Okay, it's Attorney Tomas Cabrera. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me, Steve.
Well, I hope you have fun. Should we do I missed the podcast, the last one? What do you think? It's always up to me. I hate things. Let's just do the show. That's what we'll do. Oh, it's LinkedIn is telling me I'm on again. LinkedIn, I'm streaming live on LinkedIn. It told me that.
All the notifications now.
Yes, yeah.
Always on.
I hate it. Hey, welcome to the show. We got a tall order. We're going to teach you all there is to know today. That's what he told you. Today, we're going to tell you all there is to know about our guest. But I'm not going to tell you who that is yet. First, I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to welcome Josh, our technical producer. I'm going to tell you about Open Tax Advocates. Open Tax Advocates is and the law office of Stephen A. Leahy is that's our sponsor. They pay for these things. That's my microphone, as Ronald Reagan once said. Give me that. I paid for this microphone. So Open Tax Advocates helps business owners with tax troubles. Whether those tax troubles are, some people owe taxes in that they owe the IRS money. Some have not filed their tax returns. Some overpay. Is that you? Do you overpay on your taxes? Well, then you should give us a call at 312-664-6649. You can visit us on the web at chicagotaxteam.com. Or my new website, because you hear it on the spot now, because my commercials in between. Fightbacknow.com. They like the way I say it. Fight back now. Today we're going to welcome. This is the Trust Radio Network, where I introduce you to trusted professionals, right? People you can trust when you're making important decisions. Again, attorneys, when you're hiring a lawyer, you got to trust them, right? Nobody wants to hire an attorney. Especially the guy we got today. Not that they don't like Tomas, but they don't like to be injured, and he helps people who have been injured. And so we want to welcome Attorney Tomas Cabrera. Welcome to the program, Tomas.
Thank you very much for having me, Steve.
Well, I'd love to have you. You know, Tomas and I ran into each other again at the Freedom Summit. It was a lot of fun. You have a lot of fun.
That's right. Very much so.
It was a lot of fun. So let me tell you this. Some years ago, I had a friend of mine. I used to drink in a tavern with me, and we were friends. And we talked baseball, we talked politics, we talked a lot. And then I started dating my wife, and my wife sat next to Ron. His name was Ron. And she came back to me. Well, you know his daughter, and oh no, I didn't know he had a daughter. Oh, he just got divorced. No, I didn't know he was divorced. She knew more about him in 10 minutes than I knew all these years that I knew the guy. Okay? And the reason why I say that is because I've known Tomas for some years now. And so if I had my wife here, she would ask you these questions. So I'm going to ask the questions my wife would usually ask. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Tomas.
Well, again, Steve, thanks for having me. I'm a personal injury trial lawyer. I've been doing it for 7 years now.
Is that right? You started when you were 10.
Yeah, you knew me since I was just a little baby personal injury lawyer.
That's right.
And I work for the law firm of Marisi, Longo and Associates, and we focus mostly on construction negligence, but all types of personal injury, automobile accidents, premises cases, those types of things. And I've been there my whole career.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
So I was born in Havana, Cuba.
Were you?
Yep. And I came to the United States with my family in 1992. with my mom and with my dad.
How old were you?
I was 4 years old at the time.
Do you remember?
3 years old at the time.
Do you remember?
I only remember the stories that they tell me.
Uh-huh.
You know,
so because you kind of lived the story, so it's like I almost remember it. But
it's like I was there, but I was there, but they tell me the
it.
stories, and let's just say that it's I'm glad that I'm on this side of the pond and not on the other side. But yeah. So then I pretty much landed in Miami, like every good Cuban.
Yes.
And that's where we were for around a year or so. My dad was studying at the time to pass the medical board, so he was a doctor in Cuba. And then when you come here, you got to restart it all over again. So my dad passed the boards, and then he got his residency in New York, and we moved up to New York.
Really?
Lived on Long Island for a while.
That's a America success story.
Well, that's only the beginning, Steve.
Yeah.
So we lived on Long Island for a while. My dad finished his residency. And then my grandfather was working at Elmhurst Memorial Hospital at the time here in Chicago. And my dad started working over there with him. And we've been in Chicago ever since 2001.
You say your grandfather was a physician also?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the black sheep of the family. I come from a long line of doctors.
Is that right?
Yeah, both my grandparents, my aunt, my dad, my mom, they're all doctors.
Really?
Yeah. So I ran the other way with the ball, but that's okay. With all those doctors, you got to have at least one lawyer in the family.
So how old were you when you came to Chicagoland area?
So I was 12. So we moved to Wheaton, good old Wheaton, Illinois. And I went to high school there, Wheaton, Warrenville South, Tiger. And then went to Loyola for undergrad. And then I...
Loyola University downtown or at the Lakeshore campus?
At the Lakeshore campus.
Uh-huh.
And... well, then I went to the Harvard of the Midwest, the John Marshall Law School of Chicago, Illinois.
My wife is going to be very proud of me that I know these things about you now. Because again, I've known you forever. I didn't know these things about you. So that's interesting. And did you always you went to Loyola? Did you always want to be an attorney? Was that something that you dreamt of? Was it something that you planned? What happened?
Oh, no. So I started Loyola being...
You're going to be a doctor.
Being a doctor.
Is that right?
I started being pre-med. But, I think I always kind of had it in me, to be an attorney.
Do you have siblings?
I have a younger brother.
Is he a doctor?
No, he's 21.
Uh-huh.
So he's still in school. He's studying business. He's at DePaul.
Uh-huh.
But... so I started off pre-med, and then I took my biology courses and my chemistries, and then I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And then, switched over to history and political science. However, there is one attorney, at least down the line in my family. My great-grandfather was an attorney in Cuba.
Uh-huh.
And he was an attorney in Cuba during kind of a little bit of a pivotal time. He was an attorney before Castro's revolution, the communist revolution in 1959. And then he was an attorney after, right? And, he's kind of had a very unique insight in terms of how that legal system changed and how it affected, everybody's life. So when Cubans leave Cuba, you can't really carry a lot of stuff with you, you kind of carry the bare necessities. Well, my grandmother, when she left Cuba, she gave me my great-grandfather's pin, his law school pin. I'm wearing it today here at your show. And that's, he wore it every day in practice, in Cuba. And, I wear it in a sense to honor him, but also to remind me, of my heritage and, my duty to my clients.
That's a great story. I see the pin there today. So that's a great, that tradition is important.
Yeah. And lawyers, we're part of the safeguard, to a lot of the freedoms that people kind of take for granted, I come from obviously a unique perspective, fleeing from a communist regime and in a communist country. And, the law is the first thing that they chip at, to try to, take power in a society. Yep. So, I take my role as being an attorney and upholding the Constitution of the United States and the state of Illinois very seriously.
Well, that's commendable, as we all should, I think, right? So you went to law. So what you finished the school? Did you decide in school to become a lawyer, or did you go out to work and then become an attorney?
So I went straight from undergrad to law school, but as you know, with John Marshall, they have a night school program.
Yes.
So I worked full time at a law firm, during the day, and then I went to school at night, and I found time to sleep somewhere in between.
Don't I know it? I went to night school for 7 years at John Marshall Law School.
There you go.
Because I got my my LLM there too. So.
Okay. So yeah, I think after a while, I always envisioned myself in a courtroom, fighting for people, fighting, on the side of justice and fairness. I never really wanted to be behind a desk, or anything like that.
Did you get that experience at John Marshall or not? Did you do the trial lab and all that?
Yeah, I think, one of the good things about Marshall is that,
or whatever it's called.
Or whatever it's called now. Yeah, you're right. UIC or, something like that. But to me, it'll always be Marshall.
I agree.
Is that, they really try to make you practice ready from day one. Nobody needed to teach me how to stand in a courtroom, how to address a judge, how to move around. And, some of these other distinguished law schools, maybe a little bit more ivory tower.
Yes. We'll talk a little bit about that. But if someone's injured and they're looking for an attorney, how can they reach you?
Well, they can find me online at mauricilongo.com, or they could call me at 847-722-7399.
That's his cell phone. So he gave you his cell phone number. So if you have a question, call Tomas. He'll be happy to answer it. Remember that if you have tax trouble, you should give us a call at Open Tax Advocates at 312-664-6649. You can visit us on the web at chicagotaxteam.com. We're going to take a break. Attorney Cabrera is going to join us on the other side, and I have some important questions to ask him. You won't want to miss it on AM 560, The Answer.
That's pretty cool.
It's going to get cooler. Whenever you're ready there, Joliet. I call him Joliet because he comes from Joliet. And people say, don't you know that's Joliet? I know it. I'm from Chicago. I actually am. Welcome back to the show. Is it a show or is it a program? I think it's a programmed show. We're here with Joliet Josh, our technical producer. Our guest today is a friend of mine and now a friend of yours, Attorney Tomas Cabrera. He practices personal injury law at a firm that's near and dear to my heart. The main guy there is Jim Morisi. It's safe to call he's the main guy.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's a friend of mine also. And when I had problems, that's who I called, right? That firm. And I'd say to you, if you're having a problem, if you've been injured, you should call Attorney Cabrera, and he'll be happy to answer your questions and help you if you need help. And he'll be the first one to tell you if you don't need his help, right? Now, I mentioned to you this segment. I always like to talk about. I don't know if I've told you this, but I have 2 sons. Did I ever tell you that? Do you have any kids?
I have 3.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Playing zone defense.
I'm going to have you sit down with my wife so she can tell me about you. But now I know. And I have 2 sons, and both of my sons are in law school. Did I tell you this? And so I always like to ask attorneys who are here, what kind of advice would you have for someone who's thinking about going to law school or people that are in law school? What kind of advice would you have for them?
Well, I think while you're in law school, law school tries to make it like a competitive environment, and everybody's kind of like jockeying for class position and class rank and all of this. I never really bought into that. I was always nice to anybody. I would study with anybody that wanted to study with me. I shared my notes with people. And one of the things that has happened as a result of that is when you start off being a young attorney and you're starting off your practice, the people that you make friends with in law school are not only your friends, but also some of the best sources of business that you can get. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have become my friends and, throughout law school. So I think one of the things would just be a nice guy. Don't buy into this whole, it's you or me type of environment that sometimes law school culture kind of breeds. Just be nice. Be nice to everybody.
I think that's really good advice. And I don't know if anybody's ever given that advice before. But I agree with you because I got, now have been out of school for some time. I got to tell you, many of the people that I went to law school with are in very powerful positions now. That, they're judges, if you weren't their friend then, you're going to be their friend now. Right?
That's right. And all different branches of law.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
All of my friends are kind of scattered to the four winds. Some do real estate, some do criminal defense, some do family law, immigration. So it's good to know, lawyers in all different, aspects of law. And also there's a great referral sources, to help your own business grow.
I know the answer to this, but what was your first job out of law school?
Well, so my first job out of law school was which is my job now, working for Leahy and Associates as an associate attorney there. So
they put you to work right away, didn't they?
Right away, under Mr. Maurice's mentorship and some of the other attorneys there at the firm. I got my first caseload of, around 30 cases. And then from there, onward and upwards, as we say at the firm.
So, because it is sometimes you go to some law firms and they don't let the new attorneys really work the cases. You kind of sit back and watch it, but you actually got your hands dirty and got involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of watching too.
Well, that's true.
There's a lot,
but you can't learn to. You can't. No one can tell you how to act in front of a judge. I mean, they can tell you, but you don't really know it until you did it.
Very, very true. Very true. But I got my caseload. Taking depositions, going to trials, doing trials. Yeah, that right away. That's You
mentioned that you always saw yourself in court. Is that why you're doing litigation now? Is that something that you just always knew you were going to do? You were going to be a litigator. Do you call yourself a litigator or a trial attorney?
I'm a trial lawyer.
Okay.
So I trial lawyer for injured people, for plaintiffs. And that's all that I do. Just represent injured individuals that have been wronged as a result of somebody else's negligence. And in terms of being a trial lawyer or litigator, whatever you want to call it, it's just something that I have always, since I started law school, envisioned arguing in the wall of a courtroom in front of a jury. And, I don't think there are things in the American legal system so quintessential Americana than that, than
True.
Having just a trial lawyer arguing in front of a jury of your peers.
So as my sons finish law school, what kind of advice would you have for them as they finish law school? My oldest is finishing. He did some trial ad. He was on the trial ad team. I never did any of that when I was in law school. I was going part-time, so I didn't even know it existed, to be honest with you. And so they sent him out to Sacramento, and he was on the team. So I don't know if he's going to do litigation or trial attorney, or I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he knows. So he's still looking. What kind of advice would you have for him?
Well, so if he's not sure, in terms of kind of what route he wants to take, just try to find something that'll, give him as much exposure to different aspects of law, as he can get. Whether it be working for a small firm or, here in Cook County, 26 in California, and the state's attorney's office is one of the best places to kind of earn your chops as a trial lawyer.
Or the worst. Or the worst places.
Well,
No, I'm not, you know what I'm saying.
I know.
There's some would say there's some bad hombres over there on 26 in Cal.
But yeah, definitely just try to expose yourself to as much different areas of law until you kind of find one that you're really passionate about and really care about, and go from there.
Okay, so now you help clients now, or when they're injured, and talk a little bit about that process. When someone comes to see you, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always tell my clients is, when you hire me as your attorney, your focus is now just on getting better, on seeking the treatment that you need and recovering from your injuries. And that myself and the firm will take care of everything else of dealing with the insurance companies, and then when the time comes to argue for you and make sure that you receive full and fair compensation for your injuries. So it takes the pressure off of just, I have to deal with the insurance companies and this and that, and I'm not really familiar with the whole process, and just focusing on what they really should just be focusing on, which is getting better and recovering from their injuries.
Absolutely. I think a lot of, I know injury attorneys who always tell their clients, you can't suffer in silence, right? You got to tell someone what's going on. You got to tell your doctors, and don't try to man through it.
That's right. And you got to be your own best advocate for yourself as well, too, in front of your doctors. You can't suffer in silence. But, hiring a firm, especially a firm like mine that's been around for, we're going to be, this is our 25th year of being open, is that we kind of level the playing field, with these big bad insurance companies, and they know that, they can't push us around, and that if the case has to go to court, I tell my clients and insurance adjusters this thing is, two things are going to happen with my cases. They're either going to go to trial or we're going to settle. That's it. There's only two options.
And they have to know that you're ready to go to trial.
100%.
And that's why you have to prepare it.
100%.
And you don't pretend, because they're not going to settle unless you tell us a little bit, because there are firms out there that do settle, right? And they know, and the insurance guys know it, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. Firms have reputations, and our firm is one of being trial lawyers. And when any case walks in through the front door, I'm looking at it as already, how am I going to present this to a jury in a year or 2 years down the road? You always got to be thinking like that, and you always got to be planning your strategies like that. There are some firms that don't handle anything that has to be litigated, or has to, or the tough cases that walk away from it. That's not us. And I'm proud to say that, in my 7 years now of being an attorney, I've taken over 20 cases to verdict.
Yeah,
and very successfully at that.
Good for you. That's a great record that you have. Tell people how they can find you.
Well, they can find me online at mauricilongo.com. That's MORICILONGO.com. Or they can call me at my cell phone at 847-722-7399.
So we're going to take a break. Attorney Cabrera is going to join us on the other side. We're going to talk about the Constitution a little bit. He already talked a little bit about that, but we're going to talk about it some more. You won't want to miss it. Remember, Open Tax Advocates, 312-664-6649. You can go on the web, visit us on the web at chicagotaxteam.com. I want to thank Attorney Cabrera for being here today. And again, I should get my wife to talk to him, but maybe I could tell her about him here on AM 560, The Answer. It is true. I didn't know you had 3 kids. I don't know.
3 kids. My oldest is 6, and then I got 4-year-old twins.
Whoa!
Yeah,
that's a handful.
That's the real deal
for your wife.
Well, my wife's an attorney as well too.
I did not know that.
She does family law and immigration.
Really?
Yeah, she's got her own firm.
Really? That's interesting. Did you meet her in law school?
First day of law school.
Really?
Yep.
That's a great.
I don't know how I'm gonna do in law school, but I know at least I'm gonna get a date out of this girl. And then the rest is history.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
Is she from Chicago too?
She is from Slovakia.
Slovakia
used to be Czechoslovakia.
My grandma's Bohemian.
Okay,
that's Czechoslovakia.
That's around there.
The bull chunks. What are they called? Bull chunks, or whatever they call them. That's my grandma's side of the family. Okay, let's do it there, mister. That is correct. Let's keep it that way. We're here on AM 560, The Answer, with with Joliet Josh, our technical producer. Our guest today is Attorney Cabrera. Attorney Cabrera, again, I thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time. Tell us a little bit. I always ask guests to think of something about the Constitution they'd like to discuss. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I think, in my area, I'm a trial lawyer. The amendment, that I most personally, I guess, use on a daily basis is the Seventh Amendment, the right to a jury trial in civil cases, for all controversies in the amount of excess of $20. So that is a uniquely American system for, our Constitution, and is enshrined in our Bill of Rights, the right to a jury trial, by your peers in civil cases. I think that is something that, I'm proud to uphold every day that I'm in court and every time that I'm, presenting facts to a jury.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you here, and because whenever anybody's talking about something in the Constitution, I want to tell people what it is. So let's read the Seventh Amendment. The Seventh Amendment says, "In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law." So
that's right. And a lot of other.
So we talk a lot about criminal cases, but I don't think people always realize that the Constitution provides for civil litigation too.
And then very early on, the Bill of Rights were the first 10 amendments that were passed, and they were passed very early on, in our country's history. This was number 7, so it's up there, and in terms of one of the most important principles of our American legal system. A lot of other countries, England has a jury trial for criminal cases, but no other place in the world really can settle disputes in civil matters. When somebody's been wronged as a result of somebody else's negligence or somebody else's fault, by a jury of your peers other than here.
It's a very important concept, isn't
it? Definitely. And, the American Constitution and the framework and our founding fathers, and the American cultural norms and our values really give these documents life. It's what really brings out the living words of all these documents. There are a lot of other constitutions all over the world, past and present, that have very nice flowery language of, protecting individual freedoms and freedom of speech and religion. Cuba's got a very flowery constitution that protects all those rights, but it's the practice of the people, of a society, of a community, of a country that really put meaning behind those words. Where in Cuba, where I come from, those words on the Cuban Constitution are useless or meaningless, when here they actually do matter.
Let me tell you that not a lot of attorneys have spoken about the Seventh Amendment, but one did, Jim Morisi. Fact.
Well, I guess I follow from good stock then.
Absolutely, absolutely true. I just and to me again, it's a very few people really hone in on that. On the Seventh Amendment and what it means. I think, everybody can tell you what the Second Amendment is, what the First Amendment is, the Fourth Amendment even.
Right.
But the Seventh Amendment, most people couldn't tell you what that is.
And it's another example of our founding fathers having the foresight to limit government power. Instead of having, a judge from the government dictate, what is right and wrong between individuals, now you have the community as a whole, a jury of your peers decided for you, which is a limit on government power.
What a great concept.
I agree.
Limit on government power. My own opinion is the more we can limit it, the better, because as you point out, constitutions can say great things, but it's the implementation and the enforcement of these constitutional ideas that really make the difference.
Yeah, I mean, if you study history, which, I tend to believe that I'm a student of history and my family background, the USSR had a constitution.
Yeah.
And that constitution said that, everybody has freedom of speech to say whatever they want to say against the government.
Except they didn't.
Except, in practice,
that's right.
If you did that, you would have tanks rolling down your street, and in Cuba, the same thing. When there's a story that my uncle who fled Cuba before my family. He fled in the 80s, my Uncle George. He was at the library every day, studying the Cuban Constitution and trying to figure out a way of, how to leave the country legally. When an old Cuban librarian came up to him and he said, why are you reading that? That's dead law. That doesn't matter anymore.
So important that our Constitution remain alive. Tell people how they can find you.
They can find me at mauricilongo.com, or they can call me at 847-722-7399.
Okay, we're going to take another break. Attorney Cabrera is going to meet us on the other side on AM 560, The Answer. Very good. I don't hear any feedback. Just that somebody just said in my ear, "Are you hearing any feedback?" No, I didn't hear that. Where's he? Home? I know they do everything remote now. That's very good.
Oh, this is very fun, Steve. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Good.
I'm really having a good time.
Whenever you're ready there, Joliet. Welcome back. The guy just told you who I was. I'm going to tell him who Joliet Josh is. He's our technical producer every week, most every week. Sometimes he takes time off. I don't know why. Anyway, and we're here with Attorney Tomas Cabrera, personal friend of mine. And I want to welcome back to the program, Attorney Cabrera. I want you to tell people what's the most common questions that you get? What should people know about your area of the law that they don't know?
Well, I think one of the basic principles here is that insurance companies are not your friends. They're in the business of making money, and they're in the business of protecting their premiums and not paying out. So, I get a lot of people that say, "Oh, I've been talking to my insurance company, and they told me they're going to take care of this," and then they string them along, and then a year passes, or it's close to the statute of limitations. That's the time that you have to file a lawsuit. And then the insurance company either ignores them or throws them a really lowball offer. So I think, people need to be really smart in terms of not talking to insurance companies and giving them too much information and getting representation.
I think that's a very good point in that they know what the rules are and you don't.
That's right.
And so, and whenever you think, "Oh, they're being very nice to me," and I always tell people they're being nice to you because that's the way they found works for them to take advantage of you, in my opinion. Again, I'm sure there's nice insurance people out there. I'm sure there is. I don't know how often they are out there. But right, they know what's going on. They know what they're trying to do, right, is to string it along. They know what the statute of limitations is, and you don't.
That's right. The individual wouldn't know that, or typically wouldn't know that information, or they would say things that they inadvertently might be hurting their claim. Those are things that if you talk to personal injury lawyers such as myself, we help guide you through that process. And one of the things that we do is, we present a demand package to the insurance company on our terms, with the rules that we know what they are, and balance out the playing fields.
I know that when people call you right away, what's one of the first things that happens with an insurance company? Right, they call the injured person, and they put you on. They record you, don't they? They want to record you.
That's right.
What kind of advice would you have for people about that? Once you get injured, right, and you don't know when that's going to happen. Nobody plans this kind of stuff. It just kind of happens, and then you're relying on people who are really not with your best interest.
Yeah, they're not in your camp. They're not there to really help you. They're there to see, to minimize exposure, to minimize risk. That's what insurance is, right? Mm-hmm. They're in the risk business. In terms of any type of recorded statement or a written statement or anything like that, I would advise strongly against doing any of those things for, an insurance company. And instead, I would advise somebody to, seek out representation.
And I think just from where I sit, I think if you've been injured and you think I might, I don't know if I need a lawyer, reach out and ask, talk to somebody, call Tomas. and he'll tell you if you need an attorney. Again, sometimes you might not need an attorney, but you don't know until you ask, and so you should always ask. Agreed?
Definitely. For example, for my services, I work on a contingency fee, and the consultations are always free. So there's no harm or risk to an individual by just calling and seeing what their case is or what their rights are.
I think it's so important. I know, and again, I kind of know this firm, and I know that firm what they fight for. I think I've told people on this that Jim Morisi was my attorney when I used to be an iron worker, right? And I got to tell you that it really makes a difference on who's on your side and who's not on your side. It makes a big difference.
Definitely does.
So get out there and ask. And here, Attorney Cabrera is even giving you his cell phone number. Call him, ask him. He'll be happy to answer the question, right?
100%, definitely.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have given your number out.
For sure.
Yeah, so if you have a question, if you've been injured, again, it's so important because sometimes you don't even know how bad the injury is right away, right? Because these things tend to sometimes get worse. Everybody wants them to get better,
and insurance companies pounce on that. Nobody is the same as and people suffer differently from injuries. But the insurance companies say, oh, well, you didn't get treatment the day of, or you waited too long to get treatment. Those are all things that they use against an individual that if they have an attorney such as myself and my firm, we don't let them get away with those tricks.
It's so important to have the right people that are backing you up on this. It really is. And again, because these insurance companies have seasoned attorneys on their side that are fighting against you. And they don't always come out as your adversary, but we are in an adversarial system, right?
Yeah, definitely. It is an adversarial system, but that's part of the beauty of it.
It is
that usually when it's that the truth does come out and the facts are what they are. However, you got to have as an individual the right to be able to present those facts in the best way for you.
Well, I think you mentioned something earlier in the show that from the first time you're meeting somebody, you're thinking, how can I do? How can this be presented? And so you're always thinking how I can win this case even before you get the case.
100%. From the minute that my client walks in through the door, I'm thinking about if this case would be presented at trial. How do I do that? What do I need to do?
So how can people find you, Attorney Cabrera?
Well, they can go to my website, mauricilongo.com, and my firm's website, or they can call me at my cell phone at 847-722-7399.
So pick up the phone, and if you get injured, and again, maybe you should put the phone, right now, put it in your phone, because you don't know when you're going to get injured, and then you won't know where to call. So put his phone number in there. But here's something you can do. You can always call me, and I'll put you in touch with Attorney Cabrera. Call me at 312-664-6649. Again, after you get injured, listen to my show. I'll give you my number. Call me. I'll put you in touch with Attorney Cabrera. We're going to take one more break. Join us on the other side on AM 560, The Answer.
Is that Billy Joel? Is that Billy Joel that you have?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't pick the music. Although it's good.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. It's like the BTO at the beginning. Okay. Do it. Hey, did you hear my spot? I think they played the spot right before this. Did you hear the spot? That's my new spot. I hope you like it. Go to what I call fightbacknow.com. Fightbacknow.com. So thanks so much for joining us. We're here with Joliet Josh, our technical producer. Our guest today is Attorney Tomas Cabrera. He's a personal injury attorney. And, I did ask you if you're a litigator or because I love that question to trial attorneys. They kind of despise that. Litigator? I'm a trial attorney. I go to trial. I don't litigate stuff. So I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think makes a good attorney?
Well, I think one of the number one things is the ability to really listen to your client, and really focus in on their struggles and having empathy. to be able to, connect with them. That, and then also being able to present an effective argument in front of court. You have to be able to synthesize all of these different areas of information, medical records, your client's testimony, what happened at the scene, and be able to present that, in a very effective manner. But I think it starts off with really listening to your client, really understanding, what they've been through, and then, obviously having the knowledge of the law and being able to present it effectively.
Well, we think all lawyers should know that, right? But what really makes a good attorney, and I have to agree with you that listening to your client is really because it's really their case, isn't it?
100%. It's the client's case, and we're just there to guide them along and to give them, our professional opinion.
And as the case is going, right, they're going to need direction because there's always lots of questions about what's going on, and these things take longer than most people think, don't they?
They do, especially now in the post-COVID era. Courts are started to be open more and more, but there's still a very much of a COVID delay, I would say, in some of the cases.
So you got to be willing to. I know sometimes the other side will try to starve you out.
Yeah, no, that's something that we're always aggressive in pushing our cases forward.
Yeah, but you don't really have always the power to do that, right?
That's true. Where sometimes it's the court that is a little bit of a delay. Sometimes the other side tries to drag their heels, but we always try to be aggressive and putting the case in the best position possible to make a recovery for our clients.
Well, personal injury is could be a lucrative line of work, but it's a very important line of work in the sense that, as you mentioned, you guys work on a contingency fee. So if you don't get a recovery, you don't get paid either. Isn't that right?
That's correct. So we work on a contingency fee basis. So we only make money obviously if our client makes money. And one of the things that I've learned from doing this for 7 years is that if you take care of the client and if the client is happy, then you'll keep the lights on and you'll make your living as well too.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here today. I always learn a lot, so I appreciate you. I know now you have 3 kids and your wife is an attorney, and I didn't know that before. So, and I've known Tomas for more than 7 years because you weren't an attorney when I first met you.
That's right. I was a law clerk.
That's right. So thanks so much for joining us here on the Trust Radio Network. We welcome you. We'll have to have you back sometime and talk more about your practice. And so don't forget, this is Open Tax Advocates, 312-664-6649. Join us next week here on AM 560, The Answer. BTO.
Pretty good.
The music. Okay, Attorney Cabrera. Now you are a trusted professional. One of the, and you know all there is to know. You've told us all there is to know. So thanks so much for joining us. I hope you had fun.
I had a lot of fun. I can't wait to come back.
I told you it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, So I told you it's a lot of fun. And I appreciate your advice to my kids.
Yeah.
I always have to stop calling them. I always go, my boys are now they're my sons. I got 121 and 123. So
there we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
And we're gonna go give us our out. Out.